I take it. You're going to see the 1850 cabin. Boy, is that a far cry from this house. But those are farmers who have, I'm recently settled there. I'm not quite sure how long they are supposed to have been there, but this family has been established here in this country for a while. It is a Norwegian immigrant family. So the Tangens are from Norway originally. They came here, and Mr. Tangen probably worked his way up through some kind of business and then finally opened his own farm equipment business. And like I said, he's doing pretty well. You can see just from this room the nice things that they have in here. This house is going to be divided into different sections. There are public areas and private areas. And the public rooms are the ones like the parlor, and the dining room, and the hallway in this particular house. Those are the public areas. Those are the rooms that you let your company see. You won't let them see the private rooms of your house. The next room over is the sitting room. And the way I think of the sitting room versus the parlor is that the sitting room is kind of like today's family room, or the den, the room where you watch TV and play video games, things like that. That's the sitting room. That's where the family is going to spend their spare time. The parlor is the fancy room for entertaining, and you're only going to use this room when you have company here. So whether you're an adult or a child, you're not going to be spending a whole lot of time in here, except when there are guests. As a child, you're going to spend even less time than your parents, because you're not going to come in here unless your parents invite you in to visit with the guests. And it might be just hello and goodbye, greet them politely, and then you go back to whatever you were doing. Depends on the nature of the party. If it's a birthday party, well maybe, and if it's for you, of course, you're going to stay the whole time. But if it's a grown-up party, they might ask you to come in and make your manners and be nice, be polite, and then go back to whatever you were doing. Speaking of manners, there are lots of rules that kids had to live by that don't necessarily apply today. When your parents have company over, do you have to sit up straight in a chair with your feet on the floor and your hands in your lap? No. Do you have to remain silent the entire time that they're there unless they speak to you? No. Well, that's the way it was for kids back then. You came into the parlor, and if you were invited in, and you would sit, and you would look pleasant, but you did not speak unless someone spoke to you. They asked you a question, you answered, and that was it. And you had to sit quietly the entire time. And so that was one of the things the kids had to learn to do before they could even sit at the dining room table. They had to be able to sit through a meal without speaking, because meals could be kind of long for the party. The meals could take a while with all the different courses, and children were seen and not heard. That means that they were there, but they didn't speak unless spoken to. So you had to learn your manners and learn to be able to sit without fidgeting and without speaking for quite a while. I'm sure that many of us today would not be able to live with that rule, would we?
No.
It'd be pretty hard for me too. The other things that the kids are responsible for, when you come home from school, after you do your homework, what do you normally do? Name something.
I usually play video games.
Play a video game?
Watch TV.
Watch TV?
Probably play with friends.
Play outside, okay.
Play with my dog.
Play with your dog, okay. Well, those two things are things that kids probably would have done. Play with the dog, play outside. But only after they've done their chores, okay? Video games and TV, they're going to be able to do that? No. This is 1875. What don't we have in 1875?
TV.
Well, what runs our TV? Now let's see, who haven't heard?
Electricity.
Electricity. So we've got nothing like that to entertain us. So kids are going to play with toys that very often were homemade, but not always. They might have purchased something at the general store that they could play with. But chores were a big thing, and kids had to come. When they came home, they had to help. We've got chickens outside. They might have to take care of the chickens. They have to haul in wood for our fire. They have to haul out the dirty dishwater when we're done with washing the dishes. There are lots of different chores, sweeping, things like that the kids had to do. So no fun and games until after your chores were done. Let's talk a little bit just about this particular room. As I said, it's the fancy room. You can see it's got the nice carpet on the floor. It's got nice fancy curtains. When you go into the sitting room, you're going to see it's not quite so fancy because that's where the family is going to spend their spare time. Here is where they're going to spend their money. They're going to spend their decorating dollars here because this is where they want to show off to their company all the nice things that they have. Back in the next room, since it's just the family, it doesn't really matter that much what they have in there. It's going to be a more comfortable room and less for showing off. Yes.
Are we going to be able to go in that back?
We're going to take a quick walk through that room, and then we're going to go see the rest of the house. You can see the fancy curtains on the windows. Well, see how, I don't know if everybody can see that, but when you stand up, you'll be able to see how the curtains just sit on the floor. There's a bunch of lace just sitting on the floor. Well, that's one way for the Tangans to show off how much money they have. They do like to show off their wealth. One reason that they have those curtains like that is because, first of all, the people of this time like to bring nature in from the outside. So you'll see lots of flowers and feathers and representations of nature in the house. But if you've ever seen a waterfall, you know that the water at the bottom gets all frothy and white and foamy. Well, this is sort of a representation of a waterfall. It doesn't look exactly like one, but it sort of gives the feeling of the foam at the bottom of a waterfall. But it's also a way for the Tangans to say, we have enough money that we can have lace that just sits there on the floor. It doesn't have to, it's not even part of the window dressing, it just is excess. And a lot of the Victorian era was about excess, doing things kind of over the top. All right, now the next thing we're going to do is head into the...
Here's just a family room where they didn't really show their guests a lot of this room. So